everyone, it's Aurora and welcome back to the channel, and welcome if you are new. Hello! Today we are going to be talking about writer's block, and creative block is a more sort of general term, but we're going to be focusing on writing because that is what I do. Anyway, so some people are, absolutely plagued by it. They are regularly going through periods where they are struggling to write and get the words down and get the story out, whereas other people will sit there and say they don't even believe in it because they have never experienced it. And, there's that argument of like, well, other people in other fields don't get, this block and that block. Here's the thing. Creativity is very different from using your logical brain. Like, if you are a bricklayer, you're not going to get like bricky block because you are not necessarily using a creative brain to make something happen. You have a system and you're doing things the same way every time, more or less. So I think it's a very different beast. So why is it some people are so plagued by it while others just don't experience it? First thing is, I do think a lot of it is mindset. I'm not going to go all like woo-woo manifestation here on you. I do think that mindset does play a huge role in it though, because here's the thing. If you believe you're going to get blocked, you are far more likely to get blocked because you've already told yourself it's going to happen. Oh, I get it so easily. I get it all the time. Well, yeah, you do because you tell yourself you do and your brain wants to prove you right. That does not make it the truth. If you go in saying, yeah, this is going to be fine and I'm going to work through it and it's all going to be grand, you're more likely to be able to work through any issues that come up rather than just immediately go, oh, look, there's writer's block, can't do it, get up, walk away, never come back to a project and never finish a project. The people who say, I'm not going to get writer's block, I don't believe in it, well, they are constantly looking at ways around it, or they're not framing it as writer's block. It's just, oh, maybe it's, I'm just not in the mood, maybe things are, there's a reason for it that isn't a huge roadblock in their way. And yeah, mindset plays a major difference. The second we tell ourselves we can't do something, we're geared to failure. We're already told ourselves we can't do it. If you tell yourself you can do something, you're part of the way there. So yeah, go in with that positive mindset that it's all going to be okay, because it probably will be. The next thing is I actually do think these people who don't suffer with it know how to refill the creative well way better than even people like myself. I don't think I get it regularly. I do get it sometimes. I sort of sit in the middle. I think suffering creative block is almost like a sliding scale. So refilling the creative well. Now, Julia Cameron did talk about this in The Artist's Way. Well, I didn't get on with it. And it's not one I would necessarily recommend. I gave up with it. I do think she's got a point with refilling the creative well. Because here's the thing, while creativity is kind of like a muscle where you've got to kind of keep working it, you've got to work it in different ways. If I constantly just run every day, I'm not going to suddenly expect to wake up one morning with like big old arm muscles. It just doesn't work like that. It's keeping all the creative muscles just working together and knowing, what they need at any given time. And I think people who don't suffer with like writer's block really know how to do this. They know how to go back and refill the well to be able to keep coming back. So recently I was reading a non-fiction book and I was actually really struggling creatively. I was in more of a slump than a block. Words just weren't really coming in the way I wanted to, and I knew what they had to be, just the order just wasn't happening. But when I started reading fiction again, I could feel it starting to come back and I was working on ideas and I was, putting more effort in. It's learning what helps. For me, it is very much what I'm reading does make a huge difference. I also think going to new places and doing new things is a huge help. So I do have a bit of an issue, and I think a lot of us get this. We go to the same places, we see the same things, we don't experience new things. And being open to new experiences, whether you are, for argument's sake, picking up a crochet hook and crocheting, or picking up a sketchbook and doing doodles, or even big drawings or big pieces of artwork, you are still using that creative brain, but you're using it in a different way. So it's still getting inspiration in, and it's still doing what it needs to do. but it's working a different muscle essentially. You know, you're looking at things in a very different way. If I'm crocheting, I'm still being creative, but I'm not trying to put the words in the right order, and I'm not trying to think of characters. I'm just trying to create something pretty. So yeah, I do think that doing things like this are a big help. You know, being able to get out and try new things and, you know, experience different things, because we are really what is around us. You know, if you shut yourself off from the world, you can't expect to write an amazing novel about relationships because you haven't experienced enough of them. And lastly, I think they are just better at looking for inspiration. So here's the thing. If we are just, as I say, we shut ourselves up, we don't experience new things and we don't get new inspiration. But it's all well and good going to new places, but if we're not actively looking for inspiration, we won't find it. And I kind of talked a bit about this the other week when I talked about my keeping a notebook kind of thing, you know, like getting to use notebooks. I will link that video down below. I mean, it might be helpful if you are suffering with block at the moment, and I'm assuming if you're watching this, you are probably suffering a bit with creative block. Because look, if you are constantly like making notes of things around you, they're all there for inspiration. If you are looking at different pieces of artwork and the stories within the artwork, you can find inspiration. It's knowing where to look and how to look for it. It's a skill. Same with refilling the creative well. They are skills, but they are skills you can learn. And you've just got to learn what works for you. It's all well and good me sitting here saying, go off and, you know, visit a gallery. It'll refill your creative well and you'll have this absolutely nailed. But if that doesn't inspire you, it's not a waste of time. I think, yeah, go out to galleries and enjoy various forms of artwork. But if that's not where you find your inspiration, it's all well and good me saying it, but it's not going to make a difference. You know, but if I say go and read books in different genres, you might find that helps. So I know that's what helps for me more than anything. So if you are watching this, I am going to assume you are kind of going through some kind of creative block. It might be why you clicked on this video. What can you do? First thing, it's okay to take a break, man. Like, if you are stressed, if you've got a lot going on, like I, for recently, you know, the past couple of months have been incredibly stressful. It's just been one thing after the other after the other. And I actually just needed a rest. You know, it's okay to sit there and go, you know, I can take a step back. It will still be here when I come back. And I cannot create something if my brain is way more focused on trying to deal with immediate problems. Those are a priority, and they were my priority. You know, dealing with stress, dealing with grief as well. I couldn't do what I would normally do and retreat into my little creative side. I actually just had to face what was going on and deal with all the issues. And now things are getting better. You know, here's the thing. Stress and creativity are not friends. They don't like each other. They don't get on. You don't do your best work when you're stressed. And like, I even had this when I was a copywriter. So I went through something that was actually quite traumatic. And I hadn't been in my job that long. And I actually went into work the next day and they were like, we didn't even expect you in. Trying to write, and it was like, you know, my boss sat there and said, I'm just going to give you some like admin work. It needs doing. We really need someone to do it. If you could do it, it's a big help to us. And I was like, yeah, I can do this. And then, you know, after a couple of days of like doing all this very repetitive admin work, I was able to write again. And, you know, there'd be times where we'd sit in the office, you've got a team of writers, and someone would inevitably go, I know what I have to write. This isn't rocket science. I'm not reinventing the wheel here, but I can't get the words out. And my boss was straight away, because he was pretty damn solid for this, would be like, go make a cup of tea, walk away from it. Do something that isn't writing for a bit. Come back. It's fine. It'll still be there. So that leads me on to my next thing of try something new. And as I've said, I do crochet. I don't do anything big and elaborate. I'm not the world's greatest crocheter. I'm hardly going to be starting a crochet channel. But having that other thing to do, it does help. And look, the other thing is that sometimes you do just need to give yourself a rest. Look, creativity, I've said, it's kind of like a muscle. The more you work it, the more you use it, the better you get at it. And I exercise every day. Here's the thing. I still take rest days. Okay, last week I pretty much had a rest week because of the heat wave. But even when I'm exercising regularly and I'm getting up every morning and doing cardio, doing some muscle workouts, I still have days off from that. I still have days where I let my body rest and heal. And your creative mind is no different. It still needs time to rest and to heal. I think it kind of more comes in waves rather than being this constant thing. It's like sometimes I'm in a creative lull and that's where I'm relaxing and that is where I'm recovering from all the hard work that I've done. And that is absolutely fine. The last thing I'm going to say is you can always try approaching it from a different angle. Now, this is something that plenty of other videos on Writer's Block will tell you. If you are a pantser, try doing a bit of planning. If you have hit that wall that you can't seem to get through to get to the next bit of the story. If you are a planner, go off piste and go and just write and see where it ends up and don't worry about the plan. This doesn't personally work for me, but I've had no problem. I did this last year during Nano. I sat there and went, do you know something? This chapter doesn't work and I can't move on from it. I scrapped the whole thing and rewrote it in the same day and just went, hey, I can now move past this and I can keep going. I did that twice. And I still finished on time by some miracle. I know they say don't do it for Nano, but you know what? If you can't get past where you're at, you're not going to hit your word goal. Sometimes you've got to go back a bit to keep going forward, and there's nothing wrong with that. The other thing, look, I would rather, if any of my friends had writer's block or some kind of creative block, I'm not going to sit there and go, I don't believe in it. You're talking out your hole. Maybe this isn't for you. I'm going to sit and go, right, let's sit down. We'll have a cup of tea. We'll have a snack. Let's talk this through. Let's see where your block is and see if we can get you past it. See if we can find the route through. And I've had friends do that for me as well. Weirdly enough, I wasn't even blocked. I had an idea for something I want to submit, and this is connected to actually what I spoke about last week when I talked about what I needed to send off to this publishing house. And I was like, here's my idea for this 500 words. And I was discussing it with my partner because he knows that sort of thing that I'm writing in better than I do, in fact. And he was like, okay, here's a thought. I love the idea and I think it's really cool, but what if you wrote it from this perspective instead? And I was like, that's it, that's genius. That is actually what I need to do. Sometimes you just got to talk it through. Take a rest, go make a cup of coffee, go for a walk, have a chat with someone you trust who is also creative, who isn't going to tell you anything, negative, and who's going to talk to someone who's going to support you. And you will get past it. And you know what? Sometimes you've just got to let a story sit. I've got a first draft sat down there and I've got the second draft of it, and that's sat quiet for a really long time. Partly for I don't think I could market it in any real meaningful way, and part of it is maybe it's just not time, and that's okay. I'm going to go back to it. I know eventually I'll go back to it, but right now I'm focusing on other things, and that's cool too. Sometimes actually having a couple of things to work on so you can stay in that creative groove, but keep doing something a bit different, but you're still being creative. And you know what? Sometimes you just got to not beat yourself up. Just enjoy the rest. I love having a rest every now and again. I don't take enough of them, but they are really helpful. So that's all I've got for you today. If you like this video, do give it a thumbs up. It does massively help me out with the algorithm, and it helps other people find my videos. If you have something to add to the conversation, do you believe in writer's block? Do you not? What are your ways through it? What do you find helpful? Because there are a million different ways to work through it. And if you are not subscribed, do give me a subscribe if you like what I do and you don't want to miss a video. It is a huge help to me again, and I've actually had a couple of new subscribers lately, so hi guys! Thank you so much for subscribing, it does mean the world to me, and I will see you again next week. Take care, bye!